Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're zooming in on a specific, super-critical nuance of maritime navigation, something that can literally make or break a bridge crew. We're talking about radar stabilization. You see, out on the open water, your radar is only ever as accurate as the mode you put it in. The ocean, it's not some static paved highway, right? It's this massive, constantly moving conveyor belt of currents, winds, and totally invisible forces. And how you tell your radar to interpret those forces, well, that can literally be the difference between a perfectly safe passage and a severe, multi-million-dollar maritime disaster. Okay, let's dive into this, because when vetting inspectors evaluate a ship's bridge crew, this is exactly what they're looking at. They aren't just checking your ability to crunch abstract mathematical numbers. No, they want to ensure you know how to prevent two massive ships from slamming into each other. They know for a fact that if you feed the radar the wrong point of reference, it's going to happily feed you a highly dangerous illusion right back. So, here's how we're going to break this down today. First, we'll look at the stabilization dilemma itself. Then we'll tackle speed over ground versus speed through water. After that, choosing the right mode. And finally, we'll wrap things up by unpacking relative vectors.
All right, Section 1, the stabilization dilemma. Let's set up the core problem navigators face out there.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the core difference in how you view the world. When you look at a blip on your radar, you desperately need to know, is this showing me movement across the actual physical surface of the Earth, or is it just showing movement through the water? Because thanks to ocean currents, those are two wildly different things. With ground stabilization, your input is GPS speed. You're tracking your vessel and everything else relative to the solid, unmoving ground beneath the ocean. But with sea stabilization, your input comes from the ship's log speed. So you're tracking movement strictly through the water, completely ignoring the solid earth underneath you. Let's move to Section 2, speed over ground. We'll use a little mental experiment to make this super clear. Okay, picture this. Your vessel is powering forward, and the engine speed is set to push you through the water at exactly 15 knots. But you're facing a 2-knot head current, so water is rushing against the front of your ship. Now, imagine a guy standing perfectly still on a hilltop nearby watching you. What does he see? Well, he only sees you moving at 13 knots. Your engines are absolutely churning to give you 15, but that current is physically holding you back. From his unmoving vantage point on solid land, the math is just 15 minus 2. That 13 knots, that is your speed over ground. It directly includes the mathematical effect of the current. You know, if that current were pushing you from behind instead, you'd be flying along at 17 knots over the ground. Moving right along to Section 3, speed through water. Let's flip the script and look at a totally different perspective. All right, so we've got the exact same ship, and those engines are still pushing at 15 knots. But this time, imagine our observer isn't on a hilltop. Imagine he's floating on a wooden plank right next to you in the ocean. That exact same 2-knot head current, it's hitting both of you now. It's pushing against your massive ship, and it's pushing against his little plank equally. Because you are both suspended in the exact same medium, the water, the drift effectively just cancels out from his perspective. To the guy on the plank, the current essentially disappears. He sees your vessel moving away from him at exactly 15 knots. And that, my friends, is your speed through water. Now, before we actually take this theory up to the bridge for a high-stakes scenario, we need to make sure we clearly define the invisible forces at play here. Set is the true compass direction that the current is flowing towards. Simple enough, right? And drift, which you'll sometimes hear called rate, well, that's simply the speed of that current. So if we talk about a 3-knot easterly set, it just means the water itself is moving east at a speed of 3 knots. Make sure you keep these terms in your back pocket, because we're about to see how they totally mess with collision avoidance. Which brings us to Section 4, choosing the right mode. It's time to apply these physics to a pretty terrifying real-world dilemma on the bridge of a ship. Let's put all this into practice. Imagine you're heading straight north at 10 knots, and you've got a target heading south at 10 knots. Normally, that's a classic head-on situation. But wait, what if you have a strong 3-knot easterly set and your radar is stuck in ground-stabilized mode? Well, that easterly current is physically pushing both of your ships sideways. Since the radar is calculating your movement over the solid ground, it completely skews the vectors on your screen. Suddenly, your display shows that target ship sliding diagonally away from you. It literally tricks you into thinking you're in a perfectly safe crossing situation. If you actually maneuver based on this ground-stabilized data, you could steer your ship directly into a massive head-on collision. So the crucial point is this. Maritime collision regulations, what we call the rules of the road, they are based entirely on the aspect of the vessels. And aspect just means how the ships actually point and move in relation to each other through the water,
totally regardless of what the tide is doing to the Earth way down below. Sea stabilization works perfectly here because it completely ignores the current since both ships are floating in it together. It shows you the true unskewed direction the other ship's bow is pointing. And that's exactly why those strict vetting inspectors absolutely demand you use sea stabilization for assessing true collision risks.
So let's quickly summarize the golden rules of radar modes for the bridge. You want to use ground-stabilized mode when you're doing coastal navigation. Think about it. Reefs, shallow water, buoys, they are literally bolted to the earth. You absolutely need to know exactly how the current is pushing you toward those stationary hazards so you don't run aground. But the absolute second you need to figure out if you're going to crash into thousands of tons of moving steel, like another ship, you must switch over to sea-stabilized mode. Let's move to Section 5, Relative Vectors Explained, and see how this builds into our final layer of mastery for today. Up until now, we've really just been talking about true vectors. You know, those lines on the screen showing the actual direction a ship is heading. But modern radars have a trick up their sleeve. They allow you to switch the display over to relative vectors. So here's a massive plot twist for you. What do you think happens to this whole ground versus sea stabilization debate when you make that switch? And this brilliantly illustrates one of the coolest parts of radar tech. Interestingly enough, the moment you switch to relative vectors, the situation becomes exactly identical. Seriously, whether you were in ground-stabilized or sea-stabilized mode beforehand, the entire distinction between ground and sea completely vanishes. Poof, gone. And here's exactly why that happens. Relative motion doesn't care about the solid earth beneath you, and it certainly doesn't care about the water currents pushing you around. It only cares about the geometric relationship between you and your target. When you look at a relative display, your own ship's true vector completely disappears. You just become a single, static point in the middle of the screen with a heading line. The lines drawing out from the other ships, they now show exactly where those ships will go strictly in relation to your position. If a relative vector line from another ship intersects with the center of your screen, yeah, a crash is imminent. This completely bypasses the whole set and drift problem. It's also why absolutely vital metrics like CPA, your closest point of approach, and TCPA, time to closest point of approach, literally never change between ground and sea modes. The mathematical distance closing between two moving objects is just an absolute truth. Which brings us to a really fascinating conclusion. Back in the day, highly experienced old-school shipmasters used to demand, that their junior officers keep the radar exclusively in relative vector mode out on the open sea. They didn't want the officer of the watch getting caught up doing complex mental gymnastics over sea versus ground stabilization theories when a massive freighter was barreling toward them in the fog. They just wanted to know one simple, undeniable thing. Is that blip going to hit our ship? So, what do you think? Could the old school masters be right? Sometimes stripping away all those complex variables and relying strictly on the undeniably raw truth of relative motion really is the safest way to avoid confusion entirely. It's definitely a provocative thought to leave you with, and I think it perfectly highlights just how much of an art form maritime navigation truly is. Keep questioning, keep exploring those radar modes, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.